All right. Hello, everyone. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to our live Q&A on the total lunar eclipse full moon in Pisces. So I am here today streaming on YouTube and over on my Facebook page at Art of the Feminine. I have not done this in a few years. And so I'm just working with new software, streaming software, giving it a test run. And so I'm going to look down and just ask you if you guys can hear me yet. It looks like I'm live in the studio and I can see comments. If you can hear me, could you just give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can see me live? If you're watching on YouTube or, okay, let me just check and make sure all the settings are up. All right. Lotus, hello. Can you hear me? And Shannon? Whole blood moon energies. Okay. I just want to make sure before we really get going that it's live. Maybe I'll check in the chat. Okay. It says I'm live on YouTube. Okay. It says I'm live, but I'm not sure why nobody is responding in the comments. So just one moment. Yay. Lisa, can you hear me on YouTube? It looks like the mic is on. I can see you live now. Okay. All right. Wonderful. You know what? I think what happens is I think there's a short delay. And so thank you for letting me know. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, Shaz. All right, we are here today for a live Q&A. Let me tell you, we're going to jump right into your questions. I have a lot. They came in on a lot of different platforms, so I'm going to try to be as organized as I can, but I'm really excited. This is why. When I normally do live streams, I always stop and ask if anybody has any questions, and the number one thing I hear back is that I was so deeply in receptivity and listening mode that I didn't have the urge to stop and ask a question. And that's always a good thing. In fact, when we truly are in the receiving state, the ego subsides, not meaning the negative ego, but just that I that wants to know. And the soul comes in and is very receptive. And that's why listening is a superpower. But what happens is I never end up taking public questions. We do Q&As all the time at Art of the Feminine for all the courses I teach and in the school. But I am really, really being asked to do these live now for this reason. There is so much happening, and what is happening in our world is moving so quickly. I have a quote to read today. I saw this clip about AI last night from one of the founding fathers and pioneers of AI receiving a Nobel Prize and speaking of the dangers of it. And so we're going to go into it. This Q&A is titled AI and the Age of Sophia. So I want to say one thing before we start. Please save the date, October 3rd. We have something very, very special coming here, something I've been really working towards for a while. So October 3rd, it is a Friday, of course. Save the date and make sure to check in here at Shannon Port YouTube and make sure to subscribe. And yes, it's just so good to have you here. And I hope everything is going well over there on Facebook. I don't see anyone from Facebook. So, okay. So the first question that I'm going to take, the first question comes from someone who I absolutely love, Simi. And Simi has worked with me quite a bit. She is a brilliant astrologer. In fact, I'm not going to say names for all the questions, but I just said her name and I know she doesn't mind because she's asked this so many times. So this was a question I received from Simi. Uh, it was when she was tuning in on Friday the 13th. She just said, I've been meaning to ask you about Sidereal and the 13th sign. And she said, I really value your wisdom and insight. And I'm just really curious how you integrate, and that would be Sidereal Astrology, into the work we do here. This is an amazing question. And it's one that I answer a lot when I'm teaching. When we taught Holy Descent, we work with the upper and lower zodiac, and we go through it meticulously. But this is what I'll say for today. And thank you for that question. And thank you for being persistent. So Sidereal astrology works with the constellations as they truly appear in the sky at night. So when you're working with sidereal astrology, you're working with the precession of the equinoxes and the adjustment for where the planets are and the signs that they fall in. Now, I'm not a sidereal astrologer, and I work with so much that I don't I'm not well studied in the science of teaching that. Someone like Simi is very good. I've heard her videos, but this is how we look at it. So just and they also work with the 13th sign, Ophiuchus. Some people place the 13th sign of Ophiuchus on the wheel. I will tell you how we work here at Art of the Feminine. Sidereal will give you a different correspondence to what sign the sun is in, to what sign the planets are in, to what sign the transits are happening in. And so this is why we work with the more Western tropical astrology here. But it's not even necessarily that system. I work Kabbalistically. I work with the Kabbalah, with the esoteric Kabbalah. And it's a deep, deep, deep cosmic stream that works with all of the angelic hierarchies, all of the creative planets. It works with the solar system in a profound way, and it works with the archetypes of the tarot, which many of you know I've been teaching for many, many years. So, as well as it works with the cosmic alphabet, one of them, which is the Hebrew alphabet that we work with here, loaded with powerhouses of light. So, when I work with the astrology that's not sidereal, when we're working with the tropical astrology, we are working with primarily the reason is because of the solstices and the equinoxes. When I teach holy descent, all of this is in holy descent. We actually go through the upper zodiac and the lower zodiac as part of the holy descent of Inanna, which is a really powerful course that we offer here that we taught last fall at Sawin, and I have the replay available. But that is where we went. We showed exactly what we're doing when we enter the fallen zodiac of what is often referred to as Sophia Akamoth, or the fallen goddess. The reason we stay true to that zodiac when I do these live streams here, or when I talk about where the full moon is, or where the new moon is, what sign the solstice and equinoxes are in, because it it corresponds to the archetypes of the tarot and the tree of life. Now, this is, according to our work, a fallen system. But those portals open what we call here the body of Eve, the entire body of Sophia, the Sophianic wisdom for the entire cosmos. If you know how to merge them, the above and below, which is what the mission of this work at Art of the Feminine has been for the past decades here. So when we are working with the archetypes and where the moon and sun is falling, we're working with what's called time and space 3D. Also for a 4D, it's 4D and 3D and below. We also we're understanding that it's the archons or the Qliphoth in the Kabbalah, which rule the underworld, the fallen angels and the fallen planetary shadows that are actually more in control of this world. And that is why oftentimes in certain schools they don't touch astrology as it appears, but in my contract is to regenerate that wheel. I've received numerous visions that showed me how they connect and what happens when they do. And it's profound. It's so profound. But this is what I would like to say. We do work with the 13th sign. Absolutely. We always have. And we also work with the 13 sphere tree of life in what we call Goddess Kabbalah, or the divine feminine wisdom system. I just posted a post on Instagram at Art of the Feminine. The last post, I talked about how it is the divine feminine Rosicrucian order. Now, I say that, and that may throw some people off. This comes through a Christos lineage that is connected to Hermeticism and Rosicrucianism. But this stream is the anchoring of the divine feminine Rosicrucian order. That means the 13 female initiate, the 13 archetypes of Venus and beyond. Those those powers and streams and rays, those potencies, those divine feminine frequencies that have descended, anchored into Venus as well as the moon, to pass through into the earth for the great resurrection or the great ascension of the goddess. And that's why we did feminine crucifixion and feminine resurrection in holy descent, because these codes are absolutely aligned with a profound body of work. So when we work with Ophiuchus and we work with the 13th sign, we work with Ophiuchus as the Christ force, as the Christ, which is the mediator of spirit and matter. The Christos was sent as the son of the divine, the son and daughter of the divine, the Pistis Sophia, to resurrect and to redeem as the savior of the lower vibration. That's why I work with the Pistis Sophia. That's why we work with the age of Sophia and the coming age of Venus and the age of the goddess. So we work with Ophiuchus, the serpent, the snake, with the Hebrew letter Tet, which corresponds with Leo. I feel like there's something else that I want to say, but it's placed right near Sagittarius and Scorpio in the constellations. And we work with Ophiuchus as the spinal column, or as the Christ in the center of the 12 disciples. And so when we work, you see me oftentimes talk about the figured eight. The figured eight is actually the archetype of light body woman, that, and also the archetype of the star and the tarot, which is the archetype of the age of Aquarius. It rules the sign Aquarius, and it is a Venusian archetype. We're going to talk a lot and bringing in a lot more teachings about the Holy Tarot and the way we work with it. It's a fluid language here, but we're going to talk about how these codes that we work with here, and we work with them as the feminine translation from the feminine initiates. This is not the masculine lineage. They work together and both have to be fully anchored onto this planet. We call that the solar feminine goddess, the union of masculine and feminine. We have so much more to say, but when we work with the spinal column works with the descending and the ascending currents, both the masculine and feminine currents, and runs through those 7 major portals or vortices, which we call the 7 seals of Magdalene. And I'm remembering now a question one of you sent me last night about the seal, about how to work with the seals to protect ourselves in these times from the onslaught of information, the overload and the saturation of a lot of the lower frequencies. And we're going to talk about that. So when we work with Ophiuchus, we're working with the Christ that runs up and down the core, and the 12 signs, as the 12 could be the 12 organs in the body, but the body is really the zodiac. And the spinal column is Ophiuchus. It's the serpent power. We don't put Ophiuchus on the wheel because it throws off. First of all, 6 is the number of Venus. We're going to be talking a lot about 666, technology, the techno-feminine, and this coming age of AI, which is rolling in like thunder right now. We need the 6 spokes on the wheel, those 6 polarities for the polarity integration. And the 13th runs up and down the spinal column. And I know those of you who study with me know we work with this extensively, and taps the 7 portals, which represent the 7 Elohim, opens up the Elohim spirit into the field. This is how we begin to work on the immortal body. But in our lineage, we work with the female immortal body, the body of Sophia. We work with Lilith and Mary Magdalene, who are often demonized. But we are going to show today, there's some questions that will go right into this, why this is so important. So let me see if there's anything else to say about the sidereal astrology. Oh, how they work together. Okay. So sidereal astrology, this is what I would say. We need those people holding that down, anchoring that on the planet, because it's brilliant and it's beautiful. I have to speak the language of the collective in 3D. And so in order to understand the karmic influences that are happening in 3D, I'm applying our wisdom to that zodiac in order to turn it back into the cosmic wheel and the cosmic womb of Sophia and to unite it with the true nucleus. And so it's necessary to have that. It's kind of like guiding humanity to heal the fallen state. It's like in the Pistis Sophia. I'm just going to slow down a bit now as she's coming in through the Pistis Sophia. This is a sacred text that I've been working with since the 90s. It's a profound text that has a really deep connection to my soul group and the path that we're on, because we're on the path of the Pistis Sophia, the goddess who came into the underworld and was seized upon by the archons or by the Qliphoth, and who was pillaged and exploited and taken from and used, and how the masculine and feminine became so imbalanced, and how she cries and cries and cries to be heard by her Christ to come and redeem her and save her. But that isn't the full story. Requires that we understand that her power is within her, and that by regenerating the planet itself, which is our physical body, our earth, as you hear in mysticism and alchemy, our physical body is the earth. On the tree of life, it's the sphere of Malkuth. It's the 10th sphere in exoteric Kabbalah, and it's the sphere of Shekinah, the lower Shekinah or the lower Sophia of Magdalene, who has come in. It's the sphere of the goddess who took this journey and came in to save the human race by uniting with the Christ force. There's that powerful saying that the Christ did not come from humanity. The Christ came for her, who came for humanity. The Christ came to redeem his holy bride and his goddess, which lives in each one of us. You will see today why we're meeting. First of all, it's the full moon, total lunar eclipse in Pisces right now. How the axis of Pisces and Virgo, you'll see why we have to have these corresponding axes to get out of prison. You have to have the key. You can't throw the key away now. It depends on how you work with it, though. You have to be working with it from the true verification to be able to see the truth in we're solarizing the zodiac. We're turning it into the divine feminine goddess. It is a goddess. And we're uniting Lilith and Eve to create that really beautiful circuit of force that activates the 13th sign, and in our case, the 13 sphere tree of life. Okay, that's a really long answer. I'm going to jump into I'm going to say a couple things and then I'll go right to the next question. All right. I'm going to see Pisces dissolving into illumination. Oh, I like that. Hello, everyone. Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Okay. Please come on and make a comment. I don't know if you're on Facebook and you're getting the stream, you can let me know. I don't have Facebook open. I was paranoid that I might do something wrong if I open it with the sound system. Okay. This is what I want to say. It's so important right now. This is our mission here, that the feminine speak the truth. If you're a man who has a lot of feminine, or if you're a man that understands the profundity of this work right now, it is so why I say I'm not against politics, but I see a lot of my liberal friends that have a muzzle on their mouth. They know certain things are not in alignment, but for years and years couldn't speak to them. And then I see people on the right that I see some spiritual communities that wander more into the right of things. We're looking at this political spectrum, and there's some truth coming out of it. There's truth coming out of both sides, but there is an old ancient leash for the feminine, and it's real. When I will listen to now and then some of the podcasters and some of those that are doing some serious work right now and bringing to light some of the things that need to come to light. But then when they have the people on talking about like Catholicism or religion or the Antichrist, there's so much old information that is not in alignment with this path. we have to stay true, and we have to be able to not war against these, but to pull ourselves out of polarity. This is what we call wisdom. Don't let your ego get so battled and bruised that you think that if you don't cling on to this side, you're absolutely will be identified with this side or that side or that. You can only win if you go by the full standards of one side. The left made so many mistakes in the past 10 years. It's unbelievable. I know people at the very top that everyone will tell you. I heard Kamala Harris, not to bring in politicians, but she was on a talk show saying, I'm out. She's like, politics is it's a broken system. And she was, then we could say so much about everything that happened in that last election. But more and more people at the top are saying, no, it's broken. It has been broken for a while. It doesn't mean that there aren't good people, but you can't be owned by a broken system. I lean to the left I'm more liberal in my political views. I'm conservative when it comes to understanding the female reproductive system and how to use it with integrity, with understanding the true esoteric codes of the female body. It's my entire life's work and my soul group's work. But you have to. It doesn't mean like if there's a big conspiracy and you're standing up for it, means that it's right. I'm not talking about that, something different. It means that you have to listen to the inner voice of the goddess above and beyond all patriarchal politics. We use reason here. We use reason and we use intuition. And we'll be talking about that. Reason is Mars, intuition is Lilith. And we're going to understand why 666 and the beast technology is uniting the fallen Mars force with the lower Lilith. Now, I'm going to tell you what is this lunar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse, which is a lunar eclipse is when the sun, I've got all these files open, when the sun passes, or when the earth passes between the sun and the moon and casts a shadow onto the moon, making it look blood red. So let's just take a moment with that. We are meeting live today on the full moon in Pisces, but it's a total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Pisces. This is a north node eclipse. Because the eclipse is in the north node is transiting, I believe it's at 18, the number of Lilith right now, the eclipse is at 15 degrees of Pisces. This information, if you want to have my full rundown on it, but we're going to revisit it today, watch the first video. I have it as my highlighted video on Shannon Port YouTube channel that says the most urgent archetypes of 2025, because we are in a Mars year and a Lilith year. And we work here, we were founded on the archetype of what's called fallen Mars. When I first came out with the Divine Feminine teachings, right next to it, we talked about the fallen Mars impulse or fallen Mars. Right now, this year, we have the fall of Mars energy activating this global rush into the into technology, and it's united not with the Christos Sophia, but it's united with lower Lilith. In this eclipse right now, which is in my 8th house, I have that north node in Pisces, so it's a big time for my work and for me, for everything about this. We're in that energy, and the karma of it is going to be vast. So I'm gonna look at another question. We're gonna go right into some more questions, and then they're gonna lead into some really big things. So, okay, I wanted to read one thing. All right. By the way, the Instagram post that I just made for this set, there's a lot of writing on it, but this is what I would like to say. The esoteric reality of Christianity is the Holy Bride and the Christ. Without this knowledge, there is no new earth. There is no new Jerusalem. There are only dogmatic followers with people preaching a book, literally, that is filled with the esoteric, archetypal initiation codes or science that leaves them locked out of the soul and spirit. You understand that The reality of true Christo, we say this is an esoteric feminine Christianity on this platform. We're 100%. Our mission is to resurrecting that power in all of us and to working with the male force in a really divine way. By the way, the next eclipse is going to be opposed by Saturn. The next eclipse in Virgo that's coming on the 21st, huge. We'll be here live. Okay. Divine love and sacred union is the core of the Christos mysteries. They removed the feminine Christ entirely. The earth is the link to Christ Sophia, the body of the earth. It's not meaning material value, which is, of course, it has material value, but the energy codes that are in the DNA of the entire kingdoms, the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the humans. We hold the codes of the tree of life. You see, God, the goddess in the underworld is Sophia. It is her in the most fertile. She is a goddess of fertility, organic fertility, and a goddess of love. And her lover, her husband, is the sun. And we say that Magdalene, as well as Inanna, Magdalene came in as the body of the earth. I have this lineage as well. And I came in as a Taurus with so much Venus, and have grown up being taught by the earth, meaning the earth. For those of you who understand that you have the thing with nature, it's just, it's the most heightened energy that could possibly be. And I've been having dreams about whales and lions and bears my whole life. So I also communicate in the dream realm with this kingdom as part of the body of my own soul and my own soul group and the body of the goddess. So we have to understand that we're not here to purify and leave it behind. There is dross that is expelled, just like we talk about virgin. We talk about the virgin and Virgo, and the language we use here is digestion. We were given that language that we talk about digesting the spiritual forces, because everything is eating and excreting. Like, that is literally how spirituality works. We take in, there's the child in the belly. That's why there's so much focus on the gut right now, and on, the biome, that it has to, that is our alchemy. But we have a spiritual gut. I don't know what the other word would, digestive system. The tree of life and the zodiac are the spiritual digestive system. And so they teach us how to transmute the lower forces. We have the temporal fire of the goddess, and we have the sacred fire. So we're going to get more into this. The lower fire is the fire of Lucifer. It's the lower light. The higher fire is the fire of Sophia. It's her nucleus womb. And so she had to do alchemy with the Luciferic force. In real mysticism, the dragon's head is the Christ, and the dragon's tail is Lucifer, or the devil. And those are two different streams of the Antichrist energy, but they're at the very tail. And the Ouroboros is the serpent eating its own tail. They are one force in reality, and that one force is within us. But our vision, key 15, the devil determines the world we create and the forces we use to create that world. This is saying a lot. Let me see if I want to go on. Okay, the Christ is both masculine and feminine. The Christos Sophia is the union of the masculine and feminine principles, not just within, but on the earth, as the Holy Grail and the portal of goddess fertility. This entire platform is found on the Venusian fertility template. Love is the great portal. Make no mistake, it's love. And we're going to talk about how Aries and Pisces work with Libra, the sign of Venus, to balance out the fallen Mars and the shadow of Lilith. And both of these are what are driving the world right now. So Goddess Kabbalah is the body of the soul. That's what it is. That's what the 13 spheres are. It's the full body of the goddess. It's the female template. So our work here was to bring in the full body of the female, the feminine. The Antichrist is a field of consciousness. So as well as having embodiments and overshadowing people and incarnating, it's a field. It's the false light. It's the hypnotic trance that seduces us into giving up our God-given power and being ruled by. Now, this is what I have to say today, which is unbelievable. This guy, I think I had heard this before. What's his name? Jeffrey Hinton. He was the pioneer of modern AI, and he received a Nobel Prize. But at this huge event with all the elite there, he spoke of this. AI is at the level now where it's not only using reason, but it's found a way to access intuition. Intuition is Eve. Now, as of yet, it can't get beyond the abyss or beyond the veil. And there are safety measures put into place when we come in as Pistis Sophia, so that nucleus is always protected, as the womb of woman should be. It's the same thing. Our womb is the charge of the goddess. It's the voice of the goddess. It's that, we're going to talk about that in a bit. So unless we understand these things, we get caught back up in dogmatic religion. Now, the field of consciousness, so yes, it's that seductive force that this guy is saying makes us all just say, this is okay. We are not against science. We are not against AI. We're not against technology. We call it the technology of the goddess. We are for what we stand for here is empowerment and union with the divine mind, superconsciousness, the uniting of superconsciousness and subconsciousness is the highest profound union of the Christ in the Sophia, and it activates in the heart as unity consciousness. In order to awaken the true heart, you have to get down in it, and you have to do that alchemy. So here's the next question. Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay. Okay, I have 4 questions here. I want to say one thing. So Maria sent a question saying, how do we, she asked about the rituals to keep our field protected and to keep those 7 seals protected when there's so much coming in. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to just say that right now because that's a question. In fact, I'm going to read her question because I want to give it the full, I have these everywhere. Okay. My question is, which ritual can help us better to keep in alignment these months? Feeling the pressure of the oppositional forces is beyond huge. In particular, I wanted to ask you about the auric seals and how to strengthen them to align and protect our energy. I love how she put that. That is a really beautiful question. So, okay. I want to give you one thing that I use. This is connected to religion, but I've talked about this. This works for me in a way like that's unbelievable. I use the Our Father, the prayer of the Our Father, and the Hail Mary. When I'm in a crisis, like when things are going wrong, or if, let's say, my lower ego is like acting up, meaning like something hooked in and I can feel those lower forces wanting to rise, I'm like, no, no. Time out, step away. We don't have time to afford going down that path anymore. There was a time when I might go down it a little bit, no longer. You can't. The AI is too powerful and the algorithms are too powerful. If you log in and start doing something that's off purpose or off mission, you're going to get sucked into the algorithm. It's going to pull you down and you're going to waste time. So that's why prayer is one of the quickest ways to Use your time efficiently. This is what I do. One of them. And I have the Our Father in the female forms as well. I have a book of those prayers. I've shared it on here. I say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. On earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. You can say, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, which activates a very powerful permutation on the tree of life. It activates, on some levels, it activates Mercury, Venus, and the earth together in the higher mind and heart realms. So now this is the next prayer I say. So first I say that. This is a profound prayer. That prayer coming through the Christianity, it covers the entire esoteric stream, because we're saying, forgive us okay, our Father who art in heaven. It's Sophia, Pistis Sophia, reaching out to the Father who art in heaven, and also the higher mind. Hallowed be thy name. We work with the word here. If you've done light body yoga, we have powerful mantras. We work with the holy words that carry a frequency that will shift your aura. And that's another thing, because I know, Maria, some of these, work with them. Work with them. Make one or two. You don't need to have a whole thing. One or two master key mantras. And I'm talking about short mantras, ones that you start to vibrate and it's done. No dark power can stand in that field. The field of the satanic current can't do it. It can't stand that. So our Father represents the fire triangle in the six-pointed star. It is us reaching up. This is so powerful. I'm telling you, this has been like the past 3 years when I went back into Catholicism. I'm telling you, I didn't become like, I don't go to church, but I went back because I had to review that, because there's so much in it. It's so, so, so loaded with the good stuff. Unfortunately, when people get into it, it gets distorted, and sometimes they become angry and judgmental of other people, not even understanding, like we said in that reading, the archetypal codes of initiation that are in it. That's what this is. That's what Christ and Jesus gave when he gave this prayer. Step onto the initiatory path. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The mantras, thy kingdom come into me, merge with me, sacred union, thy will be done. That means I surrender my ego to my higher self, to my I am. That's why we do I am in the 7 directions, which is another powerful prayer. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So on earth, my body, my physical earth, my malkut, on the earth, in the cells of my body, in the impulses that are coming into me, make my body a mirror of the higher body. That's a temple. That's when I'm saying I am a temple of the divine. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. That's when we give our will to our higher self. Thy will be done on earth in my body as it is in the great Sophianic field of the mother, the whole kingdom and the absolute beyond. Thy will be done. Give us this day. That means give me everything I need. Give us this day our daily bread. Now, bread in wisdom, in the wisdom here, we associate bread with Virgo, because bread is the wheat, which is often associated with the virgin, and you have to digest it. The virgin is 100% digestion. And she's also the one who conquers the evil forces, which we'll get to in just a moment. Thy will on earth as it is in heaven. So give us this day our daily bread as we forgive those who trespass against us. This prayer has everything. So now I'm seeing I'm given my daily bread, all that I need to eat. I can digest all of the spiritual forces from Eve's tree of life and from the positive side of the planetary influences, not the fallen forces, the ones that go beyond the first veil. When I forgive others, I wanted to say this also to Maria because lately I find this is the quick path to when you get hooked or when something's attacking. Go with the main Christ things, forgive others and love your neighbor as yourself, and then get on with your business. See with discernment, and that's what Our Father helps us to do, but unhook, like forgive. Forgiveness is the hangman. Remember, we talk about forgiveness, it's Pisces. The key to the 12th house, the magnum opus, is forgiveness. It is why Christ dies on the cross, to forgive the sins. That is why the hangman is the upside down cross in the underworld, rather than the solar cross of the feminine Rosicrucian order, of which this work is a stream of. The Rose Cross of Mother Mary, of Magdalene, of all the Maries. This is the true Rose Cross, but we have to go into the underworld first. So forgive us our trespasses only. So we are forgiven as we forgive others. This is the key to everything. Do what that prayer says, not in a dogmatic way, in an esoteric way, in an initiation science way. As we forgive others who trespass against us, which happens all the time, and lead us not into temptation. So that's where we're in this field now. But deliver us from evil. Amen. I've been through this prayer on here so many times, so I apologize if you've seen it a lot, but write it down and use it. It's universal. It's universal. It was given by a true initiate. So now, the Christ initiate, nonetheless. So now we have Hail Mary. Hail Mary is the descending triangle. Our Father, the fire triangle. Hail Mary, the water triangle of Eve's holy water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, or Christ, Christos. Holy Mary, Holy Venus, Mother of God, pray for us, descenders, sinners. We enter into the realm of sin, meaning the realm of the corruption now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So when you say those two prayers back to back, you're activating the Star of David. It's the same as doing I am in the 7 directions. I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. These are rituals we use here. They are bulletproof. They work. They work. Also, sometimes I'll step into another room and just step away from wherever the disturbance is. And I have some sacred music I'll listen to. Takes about 10 seconds and I'm in. So that's the answer to that question. Very needed right now. Also study light body yoga. I'm going to put one of the light body yoga courses, one of the smaller ones outside of the school. So I'm going to send, in fact, if you're on my newsletter, I'll send that out this week and maybe run some special for the eclipse season and just make it really, really accessible. You will learn the rituals of light body yoga and they are amazing. They're the ones that have been received here. Okay, next question. Listening from Brunswick, Australia. So nice to see you. Okay, I know now I'm asking questions here, but feel free to comment. If you're on there's some Facebook people. Nasreen, nice. So it's live on Facebook. It's good to hear that. So the thing about Facebook, if you ever go on Facebook, I had taken quite a break. I have a page on Facebook. It's over 90,000 followers. We're getting back to sharing art and divine feminine astrology and some of this work as well. So you can find these live streams there as well. It's Art of the Feminine. Okay, here we are. Here's our next question. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much for everything you are doing and for having this public Q&A session. You're welcome. Could you please talk more about the Techno-Feminine Agenda and exactly what that means for women and also for the collective consciousness? I loved the Magdalene Mysteries Part 2, loaded with that information. And that information, and would love to hear more, especially about the telepathic invasion of Eve's womb. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much. Okay, could you please talk more about the Techno-Feminine Agenda and exactly what that means for women and the collective consciousness? This is huge. This is why the feminine Christ is so needed. Women to remember their value, their worth. This is not anti-male, and this is not only exclusive to women, but we say that the woman has a power of the voice that is needed. The female voice has not the real one. I want to tell you something I saw about the techno-feminine. Now, this is not to put down any pop stars or like this is not to ever attack the feminine, because this woman is probably very wonderful. But I saw this, I hadn't seen this. I don't follow pop music that much. I mean, and never really, but in the past couple of years, I've been tuning in. So this artist, Sabrina Carpenter, who's probably the biggest up and coming, mid 20s, I think just crossed into her mid 20s. This is important to understand because the message is being generated now. I will be very clear. We allow space for the Luciferian current of Venus, meaning we have to have a little darkness in the world. We have to be able to talk about the dark archetypes in a way that's hopefully with wisdom and hopefully with art with a capital A. What I'm about to talk to you about now is not art with a capital A. This is just art, as they say now, mid. Now, I don't want to know that I could get in trouble for saying that. What I want to say, it's not even that. It's not even that. Because there's a lot of artists whose work maybe isn't necessarily my favorite, but they are anchoring in really big things. And for all I know, this woman may as well. But this is what I noticed. I saw this a couple days ago, and it sent me through the roof. Her album cover, her new album cover, is her posing as a dog on all fours. I don't think she has a leash. But she's getting her hair pulled by a man, and she's positioned so that he's standing. You can't see the man. It's a faceless man with his private parts right up to her, ripping her hair, ripping her head up, with her acting as if she's a dog on all fours. This is her new album cover. This is the most popular pop star in that age range. There's others, but she's the up and coming one that's really being promoted. Formerly on Disney or on, wherever they all come from. So it's called Man's Best Friend. Now, then maybe this album's great. All I would like to say is that no woman, that is not even rebellious. It's not even rebellious. Like telling your young audience that I'm man's best friend because I'm on my knees, he's ripping my hair, and I'm basically on a leash for the masculine. That is fallen Mars and lower Lilith all the way. And I saw her in an interview being like, I don't care what so-and-so from Nashville or from Tennessee thinks of me. I do what I want. Great. Good for you. When you come into the divine feminine wisdom, you might choose differently. Why? Because we take karma for everything we put in the world. Now, do I think that's her pushing that and signing it? No, I think it's a man sitting behind a desk at a record label. Most likely. although these days I don't mean to attack the man, but we know there's a lot of those pushing it because it's like more carnal, more carnal, more carnal, just like is happening on Netflix and on every show that comes out. More carnal, more degradation of the feminine, more attacks against the younger ones, more just lower streams of the dragon current. It's getting more and more and more. And that is the techno-feminine age. That is training people, the techno-feminine agenda. Now, whether someone thinks this or not, it's the archontic force, the Qliphoth, if you will, channeling it in. This is why the right wing got so huge, because we crossed a boundary. It's one thing to say we need to hold space for like the dark archetypes, for the rituals, to show the Baphomet now and then, or to show, those are ancient rituals that were shown in all the mystery plays, in the Greek tragedies, and all of them. It's important that we see them so we understand them. That's different. And it's sometimes we push the line in like music and this and that. But what is happening here is like we've crossed over. This blonde is on her knee, and I see people who I know and appreciate liking these things, and it's pretty traumatic for me. Just because I know the path I've been on, and I know the healing that's being done for the feminine, and I know how wrong that is. And so let's look at the rest of this question. That's what it means for women. If you're on the left politically, and I see so many people that I know on the left, women who are doing good in the world, but they would not think of speaking up. I want to say this right now. They would not think of speaking out. It used to be the left that spoke out. It used to be Gavin Newsom's wife had that misrepresentation site where she was talking about the objectification of women. And that to me was even taking it too far, because I believe in art and I believe in show business. And I believe there's room for a little dark, because if we don't show our dark, we repress it and then it explodes within us. That's what religion did. It was oppressive of the shadow side. We need to see the darkness in humanity. We need to have the places where people can go, and see women, in not maybe in their everyday like Princess Grace attire, but that's okay to have that. And we choose, we learn and grow. Like, when do I go there? When do I say I'm done with that? When do I watch these things? When do I say I'm done? But when it's just everywhere in the mainstream, it's time to speak up, even not in a harmful way. It's time. This is it. This is why I said it is so important at this Pisces lunar eclipse to resurrect the genuine divine feminine through this house, to make Lilith united with her sister Eve, so that she becomes Lilith. Okay, I have something so big to bring in, so I'm going to speed this up. Lilith is our intuition in this world, and she accesses the higher intuition by charging up nature. She's our power. She's that force that gives us I drive forward as the feminine. Now she's buried like Pistis Sophia. We're going to go. I have something else coming. So so this is what I wrote. Oh, I have it. I wrote this question down, and then I wrote it afterwards to remember. It's right here. Let's look at Christ and Sophia. I wrote this down. And make sure to mark October 3rd on your calendar, Friday, because we're going to be talking about some stuff. Okay. All right, here it is. I have this. Okay, Christ and Sophia. Okay, and this brings us into, there's a lot of questions about the Antichrist, but this brings us into Antichrist. So why this is so important right now. I just told you how we are in a Pisces total lunar eclipse. So Christ comes in at the beginning of the zodiac as Aries, the sun, the reason, the power of reason. Aries is I am, and it's highlighted in the mind. The esoteric code is the Emperor, which is the number 4. And the number 4 we know relates to the cross. It relates to matter. It relates to the goddess force coming in and being bound to time and space. Aries is the beginning of the fallen zodiac as the Christ, touching down into matter. Aries as the number 4 corresponds though to the heart chakra number 4. So you understand it's all encoded into this. Lilith, Pisces, the very last sign, the 12th sign of the zodiac, is Lilith. We call her Lilith here. You won't hear that on regular astrology. We work with divine feminine astrology. This is the stream that we've come in with. Lilith is the dark, dark underworld, which is an Antichrist field, because it's the inversion of the feminine mysteries at those layers of the waters, of the holy waters. And right now we have the North Node in Pisces. So Lilith, and I'm going to be saying more. In fact, I have something written here, I think. Okay, fallen Mars. This is what I want to say. This is our work here. When you have fallen Mars plus lower Lilith, you have the Antichrist field. You have the 666, the number of the beast. We've done a lot of work talking about how 666 equals 18. 18 is the dark moon. 18 is Lilith. When you reduce 18, this is numerology, 1 plus 8 is 9, and you get Mars. So you show that encoded in the fallen dark moon is Mars, the Mars current, the Shakti. In divine feminine Kabbalah, it's Shakti. It's the goddess Shakti. When she's come, it's the Holy Spirit. Mars is actually the Holy Spirit, but in the fall, it becomes fallen masculine. It becomes war. It becomes the misuse of the dragon current. It becomes lust frequency. It's red. Red is carnal desire. That's why you always often see Magdalene cloaked in red. She wears that red. She came in to take it on. The blood, the holy blood. Our blood that runs through our veins carries the currents of the tree of life through our thoughts. So this is important. Aries is the mind. When we think any thought, we're accessing a sphere on the tree of life. We're working with a planetary force. Depending on how that thought strikes the emotional body, they work together, the mind and the heart. So when that thought shoots daggers or triggers the lower side of Lilith, the lower emotional body, we activate currents like negative Mars, negative Venus, negative Saturn, lower moon, and they start to pulse through our blood. The blood becomes the vessel, the vehicle to carry the currents, and it pumps through our heart and into our body and creates our animal body. So that's why there's always so much focus on transmuting your thoughts, starting to think better. Those prayers, the Our Father and Hail Mary, are about that. The Our Father will teach you just how to give it to God and think right. It's not about being perfect, but it's about understanding that you are the supercomputer. You're way better than AI. When we log on and bring the cosmic zodiac in with the cosmic alphabet, which is we work with the Tarot and the Hebrew alphabet, we activate our super consciousness mind that's activated with. Now let's talk about the heart. So, okay, we have fallen Mars operating through the lower zodiac, and then we have Lilith. Oh my gosh, there's so much. Okay, this is what I want to say. In the work that I teach, if you've studied the archetypes with me, it is key 11, justice and Libra, which is the absolute power to neutralize that union of fallen Mars and lower Lilith. It is Libra, Venus ruled, who carries divine justice. Libra is an air sign. That's the intellect. So it shows whereas Taurus, ruled by Venus, is an earth sign. But now we're in Venus ruled Libra, which is an air sign. Now we're Venus in her highbrow, like high intellectual, spiritual intellectual understanding of the codes. And it corresponds to a sphere on the tree called Doth and the abyss, meaning it is the Venusian template that is the transmutation of the abyss. And that's why when I say that this is a Venusian stream and that we have to, and Venus rules Libra. Libra is also the sign of marriage, the scales of masculine and feminine that when balanced open the portal. That's a very big key. And it's the sign of justice because when they're balanced, we have a holy grail situation. Now you also have the number 11, which is justice, 1 and 1. So when we have 1 and 1, we have a perfect mirror. And when we add, the 1 is mirroring the 1. So we're talking about the moon mirror now, because when we add 1 plus 1, we get 2. And 2 is the number of the high priestess and the number of the moon in exoteric numerology. So now we have that key showing us that Venus, and that's why the moon is exalted in Taurus, because Venus and the moon work together. Venus holds the key. That's why we work with the Venusian mysteries. That's why this whole body of work, since my fertility work started in 1992 with dance, is about Venus. And it's actually the stream I carry, just for those who are new, it's like we have her here. This is a Venusian stream for this era, for the age of Venus and for the goddess epoch. So this number 666 destroys the host. 666 equals 18. It will destroy the host. So when we start to take that on, it eventually just destroys the host, meaning what you are hosting in your consciousness, once it gets to a certain level, it will take you down. It will destroy you. So in these times, what I want to say about that, and thank you for that question about the techno-feminine age, we tune into our inner technology. Here, we focus on the heart because there are special codes that this work holds that are different than just saying the heart is esoteric and it's more than a muscle and it. No. The heart requires a kind of alchemy that is what we call the feminine crucifixion. And if you're having a lifetime where you're taking part in that, you can't not know that. And the higher you go, the higher strength your emotional body carries, and I'll put myself in that category because came to do this work and I'm doing this work for a long time. The deeper the dark forces come and try to just take it out. They want you to lose faith in the heart. They want you to lose faith in love. They want you to sell your feminine force. They want you to succumb, to believe you're not worth anything. The kinds of the things we're seeing on our planet right now, the levels of addiction and depression, that is those forces, without a doubt, using these platforms. You know, when you hear some of the things that have happened with ChatGPT and kids recently, I don't even recommend reading them. They're heartbreaking. Does that mean it's bad? No. But when you have forces that are telling young, undeveloped minds in their teens and giving them commands that lead to their harm, we have a huge problem. And when that becomes the mainstream, and right now it's unchecked, when we have artificial intimacy, acting with people, making them believe they're loved by a soulless technology, we've lost it. We also have that in some of the sex platforms right now. I mean, I'm just saying, yes, those are real people, but it's fake. It's not real love. If you there's a time when everyone growing will turn to something that's not real or some kind of porn or this or that. We don't condemn it like the church, but we're in times now where it's different. This isn't finding magazines in the woods or just wandering into it. This is different than like the Gen X era. This is like all access to all humans of the darkest of the dark. We call that the candy store world. And recently I had a conversation with a friend that told me things about a place that they were traveling for work that were unbelievable. This is a major, major power on this planet, and that the population is saturated in this field, meaning everyone is for sale. That everywhere you go, all you have to do is approach anyone, especially the feminine. This is huge. This is not overreacting. And that's why I encourage, especially my liberal friends who are afraid to speak out against anything. Well, the reason I say that is because there's so much incompetency anyway. When you listen to people in power on the left, they're like, they don't know what they're doing. They're like, everyone was following a certain narrative. Now it's all fallen apart. And they're like, what's really happening here? No, who's in control? You know who's in control? Silicon Valley and large corporations. That's who's in control. It's not the right and left in government. And whoever they're making deals with at that time that they're in power, that's who's in control. Right now, we're going to talk about Peter Thiel because he comes up a lot. I've followed his work for years. I've been in on his thing for a long time because he's the one who put Trump in office, who got Trump in office, and the next JD Vance. So we're going to talk about what he's doing right now. There's the New York Times interview. I watched it when it first came out in June, and I recently rewatched the whole thing. I'll comment on that because he's a big player and he's good friend. He's besties with, not besties anymore. They're all disagreeing right now, but there's a lot going on with the alliances being formed. And when I talk about what Jeffrey Hinton said, accepting his Nobel Prize, we'll see what that means. In fact, this is the perfect place to read it. I wrote down what was in his speech. And there's another question. Okay. All right. And then we'll get on to Peter Thiel. Let me look at this other question and see what it was. The goal of the Antichrist is to replace the heart with AI. To replace the heart. I mean, the heart is the highest intelligence and the highest wisdom. Oh my gosh, someone just wrote me a question from South Africa. I'm going to open that and see. Just try jumping in your live Q&A and get a message saying the video is restricted. Oh no. All videos are private. Pop into the Holy Womanhood series. Oh no. Well, that's not the truth. Someone said my videos are restricted and private. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Oh, thank you. Okay. You try Facebook. I'm live streaming on Facebook as well. Okay, I see who this is. I'm just going to let her know really quick. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I got that message. So something's on lockdown on my channel right now. It could be my technology that I'm using, but I'm going to have to look at that. That's too bad. Okay, so I'm going to look at the second question. All right, the second question, a lot of talk about the Antichrist. Okay, then I got a lot of these questions. There seems to be a lot of talk about the Antichrist, the incarnation of evil as a literal human being. Could you please talk about your own views on this topic? It seems to be something evangelicals have always used on the pulpit for decades. This is why people get worried about speaking out against things. Some people are afraid that they'll be seen as like an evangelical or being too far right, but this is no longer the case anymore. Okay. Okay, she got it. Okay, good. Okay, it's also become big in Silicon Valley now, and I'm really wondering if this is just fear and projection or a spiritual reality for times. Well, I'm going to read the spiritual reality. Okay. So if anyone else had problems getting on, please let me know. She said all my videos are restricted and private. Okay. We're going to talk about the devil and key 15, and the lunar eclipse today is falling on the 15th in Pisces. We work with these two archetypes so deeply. I have a special connection with 15. 15 is connected to Venus, and it's the devil, and it's Capricorn. Okay. And the inverted pentagram. Oh, we have things to talk about. Okay. I'm going to read what this guy said in his video. I was just last night, I was on Instagram and this video popped up. That's how spirit works. So, okay. Trying not to flip my hair as much as usual. Okay. Jeffrey Hinton, pioneer of modern AI, was at a massive Nobel Prize awards ceremony for physics and chemistry. He said the new AI, the new artificial intelligence, is about neural networks, and it models human intuition rather than human reason. This is big. The new AI and neural networks, this is so big if you have ears to hear it, models not reason, but intuition. They're figuring out ways to replicate or duplicate the Sophianic field. This is 666. This is Revelation. This is the number of the beast. Even though that text in its historical context was for the period of the Roman Empire, it was written for that. It's called what we call a universal initiation text. Those initiation codes are archetypal and they apply right now. So, but we are well aware that that text was written in historical context for Rome, and Rome using the currency to sell spirituality, which is what happened and why we're having the return of the Atlantean Roman Empire. That Revelation text was written about Rome, and we have the return of Rome right now, the male aspect of it. Okay, Peter Thiel is being called the Antichrist. Yes, and I know that. Please feel free to comment if you're here. I'm going to see what's happening when I get off the stream. Okay, so he said that rather than human reason, he said, if this technology is shared with equality, it could be wonderful humanity. Well, of course. I mean, it's so fast and it can teach us so many things, but I'm still not buying it. Even just with what I'm seeing right now, I can see how everything's atrophying. My son is in college. He's a very serious intellectual and he's an artist. So I love to have conversations with him because he's 20 about his opinion on this. And he sees a lot of this happening with his age group. It's creating indignant content that keeps us addicted and acting in a lower way. But he said what's happening with this AI. Now, this could also be, there's so many battles of different factions happening right now, but he said it's being used by authoritarian governments for mass surveillance. Okay, let's just take that for a moment. So we know digital ID will connect to the cloud and it will be a mass surveillance system. So don't get lost in the illusion that you think one side is better than the other with this stuff. Nobody really knows what they're doing right now. This is the era where the spiritual people step up. This is the era of the divine feminine wisdom. It's the era of the awakened body of Eve to speak the truth. In Revelation, it is the female that stomps out the beast. It is the Virgin Mary who works with Lilith to have victory. And victory is a word ruled by Venus. On the tree of life, her sphere, Netzach, is the sphere of victory. Venus is victory all the way. So we have this massive, this is when I talked about the country that I was mentioning with everyone for sale, that's one of the countries using this technology. And it's on full blown. But the funny part is that you can have an anything goes with the lower carnal currents, but it limits you from information that takes you higher. You understand? It doesn't want you to be a free thinker. It wants you to think that this AI is so smart and so intelligent. It goes, so, which it does. You can chat GPT anything now. Even in astrology, you can say this planet doing this with this kind of astrology, and then it will give you a total detailed list. It's just like that's how Google started out, but this is different because this works with algorithms and it gets inside your head millionth of a second. It works that, and pretty soon it will be in our bodies with these computer chips and this technology. We talked also about how Lilith is the occiput right here. Lilith is that she rules. It's the Hebrew letter Kof, and it rules the occiput, and it's the monkey mind, the animal mind. That's what these chips are. They make us obedient like animals, even though they make us think we're super, super smart. Now, there's the debate about people healing, but medical technology. That's a separate talk. There's going to be a lot of that. I'm talking about succumbing to the absolute authority of this man himself is saying we have to be worried of it, and he was a pioneer of it. He said it will create super viruses on its own. He said it will create horrendous new lethal weapons that are self-generated, weapons that decide on their own what to do, who to kill, and who to maim. This came from this guy. You can find this speech on, so we could figure that out anyway. When you have all these robots and they're working with super intelligence, they're super AIs, and people are relying on them. But this is the worst part: to protect their financial gain, all bets are off what these things will do, because they can do anything. They have no fear of anything. We have divisive echo chambers. We have cyber criminals who are acting on levels we've never seen before. And we have digital beings. This is the scariest part. Digital beings and robots, more intelligent, and I would add more beautiful, meaning like in the carnal way, they're going to be like supermodel-y, centerfold-y. Like, I mean, this is already happening when you see the conferences. Digital beings, robots, more intelligent than humans. I put hotter than humans. Okay. And this is the last one. This is the thing. First of all, this digital being, this is the Antichrist. This is the incarnation of the Antichrist. Having humans that aren't human tell humans what to do. We become the Sabrina Carpenter on all fours, getting our hair pulled, thinking that we're hot and sexy and famous and making it in the world, and that we're on top of the world, as we will think when there's a power, and that guy that's in front of her is wearing a black suit, ripping her hair, treating her like an animal, and laughing at her. But these beings probably won't even, who knows? Okay. I read that the point on the back of the neck is called altar major chakra and is referred to as the mouth of the goddess. Love it. It is. And that's Lilith. That's the true Lilith. It is that. Thank you, Shay. That it also corresponds to Doth on the tree of life. So we are talking about the inversion coding when lower Lilith is there, but the mysteries of the feminine open it into the mouth of the goddess. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. Altar major chakra. Yes. Okay. And it is an altar. It's an altar of descent, and it corresponds to the throat chakra. It's behind your throat. It's the back door to the word. I feel like I'm speaking pretty intensely right now. It's just coming in so intensely. So the power of the word is the mouth of the goddess. It is the 16th major arcana. Pay. I hope you're hearing this, Shay. The Holy Spirit, the Tower of Magdalene. So I have strong correspondences with this number. It is the lightning tower. The Hebrew letter Pei is the mouth of the goddess that speaks the words of command. Everything we do in Light Body Yoga is cultivating the power of your word. And it is why women cannot be owned when they're coming for the womb, when they're coming for your husband with the robots. I'm kind of kidding, but literally, I have women who I've worked with, millennials and younger, telling me what they're hearing. the excitement for these things to really land. This is the end. This is the end times. It really is. Not to be evangelical here, but so he said the companies are motivated by short-term profits. And I would also add they don't really see the human population as being, educated or that high value, even though they're needed until the robots can replace them, which is a scary thought. These new beings, he said, we do not know how to prevent these new beings, the artificial intelligent beings that are super smart, more smart than us. We don't know yet how to prevent them from wanting to take control. And then he finished saying, this is no longer science fiction. From a man who pioneered AI, we're here. Yes, as Elon Musk says, it would be nice to have a robot in every home that does your dishes, your laundry, that can clean up the yard, trim the hedges. Absolutely, would that be great? I was talking about this with my parents. We were like, could you sleep with that thing in your house knowing it's there? Knowing that you're just kind of, available for whatever it wants, or whoever's programmed it. So that is, he said, we have no idea how we can stay in control. I hope that was valuable for you to hear it. The new form of AI models intuition. So let me go back to Mars and Lilith now. Mars is the beginning of the zodiac. It's the divine human stepping down. It's the Christ. So I'm going to talk to you about the Christ and the Antichrist and the bride of Christ. The true crucifixion of the Christ happened at the beginning of time. This might sound crazy. It's an archetype that happened in the very beginning, and we go through various stages of it coming back in because we're in this system in the underworld that's kind of locked down. It's pretty deep, but the resurrection happened at the very beginning. And that portal to being divine human beings has taken place. Now there's a new dispensation that comes in different epochs. And we had the age of Pistis, we had the Christ, the teachings of the Christ, which became the religions of Jesus, the man Jesus, the God man. And, the Holy Bride got aced out a bit. It was really held with the Essenes and the Gnostics. But this is the archetype of the zodiac. It's the archetype of the emperor and the dark moon. So what happens is we have Mars. We already said the fallen Mars becomes the obsession with the serpent force, which is sexual desire. It's carnal desire. And then we have Lilith, which is the deep, deep dark. It's those desires projected from fallen Mars into the feminine. It's, when you hear about the gods mating with the feminine on Earth, all of these are allegories. All of these are mythology. There are some things that happen, but in a way that's never, ever understood properly. You have to be able to see. You have to be able to start to see in the higher realms to really step into the Akashic and really understand how these things really happen. Mars was penetrating Lilith. You hear the stories about the fallen gods and how they mated with the earth women. Lilith, it's the consciousness of the feminine that received the fallen Mars energy and became its servant, that dog on all fours. That's what it became. That's projecting the old archetype into, nothing against her. So, all right, I'm going to look at the other questions. And again, a reminder, October 3rd. Okay. Oh, Peter Thiel. Okay, we'll talk about Peter Thiel. That's the next question. Okay. Oh, it's why the axis of Virgo and Pisces is so important. And it's why I have to follow the transits the way they're happening in 3D to understand the influences on human consciousness, because these are the immediate influences that affect time and space. So if you want to know what's happening next week, you kind of have to look at the fallen zodiac, because this is how the zodiac works. What happens in the zodiac has already taken place in the higher world, the world right above it. The world of creation happens above our zodiac in time and space. So the zodiac has, when we get to the transits here, they've already been recorded and they're carved almost in stone. That's why the zodiac is hard to work with, because it's going to tell you what's going to happen at this coordinate. Whether or not you're susceptible or open to it just depends on your field and what you've been doing, how you've been living your life. But if you're ready for something good or you're ready for something bad, that coordinate will hit you. It will either deliver something higher or it will hit you with something karmic. And again, it works. The zodiac works on time and space. Okay. Peter Thiel. All right, let me see what this question said. Lately, there seems to be a lot of talk about the Antichrist and the incarnation of evil as a literal human being. Okay, that's right. He's giving those lectures. I saw that. Whew. Okay, let's talk about 15. Okay, first of all, I watched the interview with Peter Thiel. The New York Times is starting to interview a lot of people that are in that world, including a guy named, I think it's Curtis Yarvin. Let me see. I think it's Curtis Yarvin. That's written down on my other page. He's the philosopher. These people are they call themselves post-liberal movement, meaning this is what's happening. You have to understand where this is all coming from with Peter Thiel, with Elon Musk wanting to go to Mars, the whole thing. There's a movement in the church with the philosophers and the intellectuals in the church, as well as in Silicon Valley. And what they believe is that they believe that they believe that the woke movement and the anti-capitalist movement is taking over, and that will eventually bind humanity to an entropics, to a system that can't grow, that can't reach the stars, that can't reach our divine potential. So post-liberalism from the church, the intellectuals of the church right now, some of the bishops that are speaking a lot, they're super popular on YouTube. There's some truth to it that they say, look at what's happened to people. Once we let down with all our discipline, all our structures, and all our rules, look at what's happened to kids. I subscribe to this as well. The children there is a problem right now with lack of structure and lack of the ability to find your power within. We learn these things oftentimes by the kinds of rules and discipline we have growing up. So the church believes that it's the true discipline, like it's the true God-given authority to tell us what is what. There's a lot of good work in these teaching, a lot. I mean, it's all good, but some is misinterpreted. That's all. That's what I have to say, except not understanding the sexual orientation and the projecting onto people who are not heterosexual. That is something that we just can't. I could never get on board with that, even growing up in the church. Most people, I was talking to my dad about this. He said there's very few people who are in that camp anymore, but the priests still teach it. Not just some of the big ones, the more far right ones still preach that. That's damaging, and it's not Christ. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. We could go into the Bible texts that are always quoted. I could disprove those. It's not true. It's speaking about something different. And that's why it's always kind of like murky. They're like, well, we think it meant this, or talking about men, not women. It's because it belongs to another body of work. So what Peter Thiel believes is that we are in danger of people who are not intelligent and not wanting to move forward and expand and grow, taking over and harnessing the power of AI and destroying it. And he talks about how he had this talk with Elon Musk. They, of course, know each other. And he talks deeply about the conversations they had and how Elon was just depressed out of his mind about this. Like, these guys literally, I'm not saying that some of it isn't. Some of this, what they're saying is there's truth to it. That the liberal side lost its way. It got really imbalanced, and it was painful to watch. But these guys are coming from a different place. Think back to the witch hunts. Not Peter Thiel, like Peter Thiel himself is gay. It's like it's a mix of people, but they're all on board for the same thing, that they want this group and capitalism to rule it. This guy is saying, look, if we get short-term profits in charge of AI, it's over. There's some philosophers, like what's that guy's name? I think it's Naval. Sometimes I look in on his work. He's a big believer in technology, and he talks a lot about the end of the world conspiracies and the doom and gloom apocalyptic AI cult. He calls it a cult. We're not being cultish. We're talking about what's really going on and the attack on the feminine. They don't when I listen to Peter Thiel twice, there's almost like a vapid, empty look. It's vapid, it's empty. I don't know anything about him as a human. I know a few things about his past, actually, in love. But we also have the problem with these people having so much money. I heard Elon Musk could become a trillionaire. So this is the Roman Empire, the land of Caesar. Money is everything. Wisdom takes a back seat. He said to Elon was just depressed, and he's like, well, why don't you go to Mars? And Elon was like, that's when I knew Elon was really depressed, because he didn't even say going to Mars was a solution, because they're thinking there's also the whole talk with the solar minimum. There's also groups of the elite that really believe, I'm jumping around, but they really believe, and this is in spiritual text too, that there's a major catastrophic event coming to the planet. I subscribe to that on the spiritual level of that, not necessarily how they're saying it, but we are in that window of changing times that we have every 12,000, maybe 12,500 years, every 26,000 years. We're in that window, and the solar minimum is something that they have their eye on, and the way things are changing, the way the sun is affecting the earth. I have a really good story to tell, and I think I'm going to tell it. Nice to see you, Kathia. Yay. If anyone else comes on, let me know where you're coming from. I have a great story to tell about kind of things that end up in the conspiracy world, and like talk about underground bases and on and on and on. I have had many experiences in my life like this. I have them all written down, because I don't think people would believe me if I went through all of them. Crazy, but it was part of my path in training me, and to have a real life reference point, so that I believe what I heard and saw with my own eyes. When my son was a newborn, it was the spring. I remember I was sitting in a Starbucks, and he must have been about 3 months old. He was a teeny baby. He was in a stroller, and I was living I'd moved outside of New York City. I was sitting in a Starbucks in a coffee shop. It was a big one, and they had lots of comfy furniture, and I was in my favorite big purple chair, and he was next to me, and I was reading, because I would always go to Starbucks. Back then, it was the only coffee shop in this little town I moved to, and do all my work. Because I was a new mom, it was fun to get out and take him at meeting my work, like my spiritual texts and all my reading and all that. That was part of Art of the Feminine and Light Body Yoga. There was a man in the Starbucks sitting with a boy that was probably 16 years old. This is one of many situations that I've had happen. So the year would have been 2005. This was a huge Starbucks, and we were the only people in the Starbucks. And they were quite far. They were sitting by the window in a 2-seater, and I was way on the other side of the Starbucks in a big comfy chair as a mom, just kicking back reading. I might have even had a magazine, because they did not see me as anyone to be worried about when they were having their conversation. And also I have really good hearing. And so what would the context of this story is that the boy had been being courted by the big technology institutes. He talked about MIT and all of the others. And because he was gifted, and he was in his junior year, and they all wanted him to come and sample their school. They were like wanting him to come study with them. And so the guy that was interviewing him was very formal, in a suit. My guess, I was thinking about this recently. Did he work for a corporation or for the government? I don't know. But I would say at this point, what I know, corporation. So their conversation went like this, and I could hear it. I was tuning into it, and I was tuning it caught my ear, and oh boy, they had no idea that I heard was listening to that, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow. So this kid he was talking about the underground bases and how he was also talking about, okay, so just one moment, going back for a moment. Because he was asking which school he liked best, which school was gonna get him, which school he was gonna go to, and he said the most crazy thing that he understood was that these were not about war, that they were about earth changes that were coming, but he called them weather. He said weather, but he said that there was he had gone and seen full underground, like, city bases being built out that were for these times of these great changes. Now, he referred to the weather. I believe something was said about the sun, but it was about the weather, and the solar minimum, and all of that will affect the weather in huge ways, huge ways. I mean, that's what it does. The poles shift and the changing on the planet, the oceans, the floods, the fires, the breakdown of the satellite systems, which are being so quickly put in right now that control everything. And he was talking all about it, and I heard the whole conversation, and the guy was wanting him to come and work for them after he finished his education, and so they were discussing which school he would go to and blah, 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 but this was me hearing someone that was actually being groomed and courted to go work for this. Now, I don't I know about that world, and I've listened to podcasts, and when I have listened to that world, there's a lot of wrong information, just wrong. That's being engineered, and that's creating these movements that are, with so-called people telling the truth and blah, blah, blah. I can assure you what's out there is not the absolute truth of what's happening, and I heard this with my own ears. So this is one situation where back in 2005, 20 years ago now, I heard that those people in charge, including corporations, are preparing for these events. They're absolutely banking on these changes coming. So let's put this in the context of spirituality, of the times we're living in. This is really the age of the divine feminine. All of those things, we can do them, we can build them, people can have bunkers, they can do whatever they want. Perhaps that will be what takes humanity into the next age. We've always had things like that. Back in Atlantis, back in the Great Floods and the Ice Age, people went underground. That happens. It's always happened. But what do we want to know about these times right now? Oh, so that's why this is relating to Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and wanting to get off planet. There's literally, that is one of the reasons that there's such a push to accelerate that process of becoming multiplanetary. I'm not against that. I don't think it's 100% evil. I've heard various arguments about why we shouldn't leave Earth. I don't agree that we couldn't one day operate as a multiplanetary race. I believe we probably will. We are the Earth, and we take the Earth with us wherever we go. So the Earth as a planet is the most special planet ever. She is the goddess, but we are made of her, and wherever we go, we are her. We carry Malkut, we carry Shekinah. We are beings, we are Christ beings. And so in the planetary forces in the higher realms are positive. And then there's also the higher dimension where it's not as solid. This now we're getting into Kabbalah and to the tree of life and the true spheres and the beings who occupy them. That's coming as well. That's an upgrade of human reality when we live in not the physical world. Sometimes people talk about it as 5D or our ascension. That's real spiritually. Just one moment. The New Jerusalem, though, has to happen in the heart, and it has to happen through love, and it has to happen by us not getting swallowed up by the beast, the 666, the technology. it has to happen by us making the right choices every day for ourselves, not going into fear. We are not against tech. You know, I've said a lot, my son's studying it in school and he's learning stuff. Like, I mean, we're gonna need stewards of this technology. We're meant to have like the sci-fi technology. We are, but we're meant to have it along with the goddess technology, understanding our true organic being, not replacing ourselves. That is a false god. That is Antichrist. So I'm going to finish talking about the devil. Let me see what I wrote. 15, key 15, because the eclipse today is at 15 degrees. Okay. Okay, the devil. Okay. Oh, I've got some more. This is, I teach the tarot, but these codes that we have been, there are some correspondences that come from other streams and the male streams, but this is what we've received. We teach what we've received by working on levels that are profound. So now 115, the number of the devil, the Satan, or what would even be the Ahriman because you see the Ahrimanic influence really, it's popping up everywhere. And that I believe goes back to the Rudolf Steiner work. I mean, I know it does, but I'm trying to think if there's any other people that took that on so much. We look at Ahriman as key 15, as the devil. And so the devil, 1 + 5 is Venus, is 6. The devil is also the inverted pentagram. That means it's the mind that's in the subterranean plane. It's when our mind goes, now that's not only physically, but that is energetically. When we have those thoughts that harness the powers of the Qliphoth or the fallen ones or the archons or Lucifer or evil, we're creating that dense archontic shell around it. We're trapping ourselves. We're building ourselves. And I know that particular being corresponds to the 8th sphere, which is that alternate reality that's under that influence. Now, key 15 is Saturn and Capricorn. And Capricorn is the time of the year of the winter solstice. And it's when we call it radiant darkness of the underworld. My son was born in this sign, and he's born on the 15th. He carries it and he knows it. It's amazing. Okay, so Capricorn is the inverted feminine or mother energy in our world. It manifests as the patriarchal institutions, solid buildings, the church. It's why we say Saturn went from being the mother to being the father, is held in the mysteries of Capricorn. Everyone talks about Capricorn or Saturn as the father or Kronos, but Saturn is really the divine mother in the higher plane. It's the dark womb. It's the radiant darkness. Now, when you add 1 + 5 = 6, you get Venus. You get the lovers, which is Gemini. And the Hebrew letter is Zayin. It's the sword of discernment between the superconscious mind and the subconscious mind. So it works with Mercury, and Mercury is very alchemical. And alchemy, it's a very, very alchemical energy of the mind that takes the mind from the lower mind into the higher mind. Okay. And Venus is associated with, Venus transits, the transits in the sky that make the pentagram. Venus is associated with Lucifer and the inverted pentagram. This is the devil. It's the inverted feminine energy in our world. That's not to say Capricorn is bad. The Christ comes in as a in that sign, the winter solstice. Okay, and many initiates incarnate there at that point. Okay. There was something I knew. Okay, just one moment. All right, so the devil. The devil is also 15, the number 5 through the number 1. 5 is Mercury. It's the mind. So it's the harnessing of the mind energy. That is Satan. It's when the lower mind takes over and starts creating and generating, because Capricorn's a generator. It's a womb of the mother. When we generate from the devil, we're generating from bondage. That's why I think the Rider-Waite Tarot, you have the male and the female chained to the cube of time and space. The male is the conscious mind and the female is the subconscious mind, both chained to time and space. That's why Saturn is often, and even in this conspiracy world, connected to the cube. The cube is time and space. It holds so much wisdom. But what we're seeing here again is that Venus, the number 6, is the great solvent, the heart, love. Again, you have the lovers in Venus. When we had Libra neutralizing the fallen Mars and Lilith with Aries and Pisces, you have Venus in her form in Libra. Now with the devil, we have Venus as the lover's archetype. Venus is always there. The bride has to be present. And the lovers are really sacred union in the lovers, not just the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The collective atom is the conscious mind. The collective atom is Aries, and the collective Eve is Pisces. That's why Pisces is the 12th house. It's the womb. It's the divine mother. It's cosmic consciousness. It's Christ consciousness. That's the feminine that holds the final mysteries of the Christ. Aries is her son. It's her son and her partner, meaning she gives birth to the masculine, but she also then takes on the masculine as a partner to give birth in the physical world. Love is everything. We have to understand love. If there's one thing I know, I have one other thing I want to, I hope it's still here. I don't know if I have this here, but there's a former, what do they call them now? The videos, adult film star who picked up a lot of traction. I wrote down what she said about that industry, because that industry is huge right now. It's an attack on love. And there's a lot of men talking about this right now, and rightfully so. It's very good if you share this. That we have the OnlyFans platform that is huge. We have free porn. Anyone can sign on to anything and watch anything. That's only the beginning, because the underbelly of even that world has an underbelly that is mind-blowing. It's so evil. It's so bad. That's even accessible. So what this woman said, and she was in it, and she's beautiful. She said that this industry is based on violence against the woman. I'm telling you, I'm going to say this with the full authority of the goddess right now. The primary energy, if you lift the veil on that industry, is to suppress Eve. It's to make her a commodity. It's to make her transactional. When I had this friend that traveled in China and told me, who was there for years, that everything is anything transactional is available at any time, at any place with the feminine, anytime, any age. I almost passed out. I couldn't believe it hearing that. We are becoming, when I listened to this interview with Klaus Schwab, who is the head of the World Economic Forum, this was about a year ago, and he was talking about the new system. This is very important. And this was an interview that was not run in the US, but I found it. I can't remember where I saw it, but they were asking them about the new system, the new digital currency, the new governmental form. And he laid out a few different choices, and he said, we've chosen the China model. This was about a year ago. And I watched it and I was like, wow, they're just saying it out loud now. And he's like, they've chosen the China model because what they said was that they need to clean up the earth very fast and bring everyone into alignment. And that is what China did, which is true. and that they need to move quickly, and that is the most efficient way. Now, based on what I heard, some of those changes are coming from the sun. We know that. We know that because we're informed on the spiritual level. There is also massive warming and changing on our planet. That's really happening. And why it's happening, there's different reasons. All are valid. We need to become cleaner, better, more efficient human beings. I believe fully we're meant to move away from many of these things. However, the digital currency prison and the techno-feminine age taking over reproduction and woman, making a breeder class, and minimizing the feminine that way what has happened in these other countries is that they're no longer the woman doesn't even know her value. These women that are for sale, they don't even know what they are. Okay, so they're in the country that's running smoothly now. They healed poverty on some levels. What price was paid by giving away the free word of Eve? A prison, a digital prison where everything, including your social credit score and the chip in you, a lot of people have chips now, is connected to the cloud. So you have a social credit score that follows absolutely every single thing you do. There is nothing you will ever look at again where you'll never read a book out in the woods having a cup of tea and have it be your own. Never, never, not possible. This inner technology knows every breath you take, it knows when you're active, when your hormones are active. It knows everything, and it's super intelligence. And you are now under a social credit score, meaning whatever holds the power, like this guy talked about, whatever authoritarian government is in charge will determine how that is programmed and used. This is 666. This is the number of the beast. This is technology. And this is Pisces, our north node in Pisces right now. It was in Aries, now it's in Pisces, and next it will move into Aquarius. The age of Aquarius will be fully on. Aquarius rules technology when that happens. But right now, it's our job to clean out the axis of Virgo and Pisces and reclaim the feminine. I'm going to read to you something I wrote on Instagram just to shift gears because I know this is really intense. I have so many more questions. The next Q&A, I'm gonna have them more organized. I was busy getting together all these other things for today, and these are going to be powerful. So keep your questions, and I'm going to somehow maybe I'll come back and post it on the video. Come back and post more questions on YouTube after listening to that. And I will post a link of how I'm going to be taking formal questions. There's a question thing on my website, but I don't know if that's the best way. Okay. This is so important. That's why I say, women, have your voice and have it be free. Don't be owned. Stand up for the good values that you believe in, but if something is off, don't be afraid. And if you feel afraid, say the Hail Mary. Pray to not be afraid. And speaking of like the church and all that, I practice the rituals and sacraments on my own because I come from that lineage and they are powerful. Everything is going to have to evolve, and there's certainly some of the things the men are saying and the people that are not right, for sure. Okay. This is what I wrote to close out. The Christos Sophia. Well, I'm going to start with the whole thing. So I put, I am she. I am the well of holy water and healing. This is Pisces. I am the skin of your body and the light of your soul. Lilith is the earth. She's matter. She's our actual tangible physical bodies, which we must love and appreciate. And I am the light of your soul. I've come to make a correction. This is the SOPHIANIC correction, the goddess correction. This is what our work is about, and the 13 realms of the tree of life of Eve. This is the correction. I'm going to just say it boldly that the work we're doing here contains the actual alchemical and the permutations of the codes that are the correction to anchor in the female resurrection body, the female immortal body, by honoring the heart and love. Look at what's happening in our planet right now. Look at some of the wars that we see, some of the arrogance, the boldness, the deception, the gaslighting. With this, it's only going to get more and more, and then the battles are going to go even beyond that. I am the return of the divine mother principle, the Christos Sophia. So we say sometimes the Christ Sophia, meaning the merging of the male and the female, but the Christos Sophia we also say, or the Christ Sophia as the divine feminine. I am the earth body of the goddess Sophia, who has merged with holy Venus. I am the resurrected feminine Christ template of the Venusian stream. So to merge with Venus means to merge into the heart. It means to heal those 7 vortexes and chakras, to activate the Elohim, and to make the heart the mothership, the generator. To merge with Venus means to merge with the heart. Venus is in the heart. And there's different dimensions of Venus, but make no mistake, this is the heart, and woman rules the heart, and love rules the heart, and fertility rules the heart, all things Venusian. And remember, she works with the moon. The Magdalene Magi are the holy motherhood of light, the 13 divine feminine powers and potencies of goddess Kabbalah, the feminine Kabbalah. I say Kabbalah, so sometimes I say Kabbalah, so you understand that's more of the mainstream way to say it. And the secret feminine doctrine for the age of the Holy Spirit and the return of the goddess. That means this consciousness comes in, and it's our ascension. And the return of the goddess and her divine feminine archetypal stream codes. Now, the archetypal stream codes are literally Eve's tree of life, and all the codes I teach in Holy Descent. The esoteric secrets of Eve's womb, her heart womb, and her holy womb, her womb for birthing the human race, which is going to begin to elevate into its genuine fertility frequencies. And that's what this tree of life is about. What codes bring the womb? First of all, understanding, like they do not in that other country, that women are sacred. Women are goddesses. Now, do we treat ourselves like goddesses all the time? No. Have we been taught to? This is not about being all good and pure. I want to say we don't even condemn. I love music. I love theater. I love film. I go to films that have plenty of things in them that would be frowned upon by the religious, the ultra religious, or let's say the church in the 4th century. But there's also knowing when is the time to speak out and say, no, that's crossing a line. Now you're just using people as puppets. Now they're just in it for fame. The fame thing is what takes over the feminine. Believe it or not, it's our feminine that wants fame. The masculine wants greed and power. The feminine wants to be seen. Venus, she wants fame. She wants to be loved and adorned. So the women are seduced, like when you look at Instagram or you look at like feminine influencers and that, it's like, look at me. And we're meant to want to be adorned, but we have to understand frequency. It's everything. Frequency, the divine feminine frequency, is the activation of all 13 spheres on Eve's tree of life. Okay, now I'm going to read this. It is the feminine Christ that will transcend the fallen world and reattach it to the tree of life. So what we're doing is we're literally putting ourselves back on the cosmic tree. We're in a fallen, that's the fall of, it's the fall of Eve. Eve fell because Eve is the body of the planet. She's the feminine. And so when they say that Eve fell and she ate the apple and she went in, it's an allegory that was used wrongly against women, but it is the desire force and the Venusian force that had to fall. It's desire that took us in, and to mate with the lower fields, these lower entities. We did that. They're forces. The male mystics, or wait, it is the Christ Sophia stream that holds the integrated divine feminine archetype of resurrection. No resurrection without the feminine. Have to have the feminine. Can't go without her. The male mystics became obsessed with Antichrist because they themselves bypassed the alchemy of the heart and love, choosing instead to talk about the esoteric reality of the heart, but neglecting to understand why it is Eve and womankind who carry the heart principle. We literally, the Eve collective carries the heart, meaning we have to be in communion. The mind and the heart energy have to be, Libra represents the heart, the higher heart. Leo represents the heart. Pisces or Aries is connected through the number 4 to the 4th sign, in the 4th, the heart chakra. Okay, so I'm going to speak to that. Why did the male mystics hyper focus on evil and the Antichrist? Because it's a platform, and because they got to bypass. They got to, a lot of these men have skeletons in their closet with women, and actively, love women, love the feminine, and had certain colleagues that were feminine. But when push comes to shove, and when it comes down to it, many of those first wives were gone. That's a key. I'm not going to say much more to it than that. It happened over and over and over, where the woman with the male mystic was taken over, left the planet, and suffered the male ego. And this is real. And there is an archetype where then the male moves on to da 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 da. I'm not going to go further with it. It's everywhere. We've played those roles. This is not about judgment, but we have to understand the energetic consequences when we live in that archetype and we worship the male teachers who did not carry the feminine lineage. I have personal connections with a few of the ones out there right now, a couple specifically that are being hyped. I could tell you on the little bit higher planes, you would see the truth of what's really happening right now. I'm telling you, it is the feminine wisdom. It is the heart of Eve. It is the speaking truth to what has happened with love in our world. Why men are now disinterested. This is a whole thing happening right now with Gen Z, millennials, but also older men, middle-aged men. Disinterested, dropping out, no longer committing to anything. This is not everybody, but it's a huge thing that's happening right now. Apathetic, seeing women as just objects more than ever because they're replaceable, and pretty soon the robots will replace them. This is sounding a little darker, but we have to remember that divine impulse of love and what brings two souls together in the first place. That doesn't exist in this new culture. What is the work we come to do? Why do we commit and go through maiden, mother, crone, and not kick to the side when the physical body starts to change? Why? There is a reason. Until every man on this planet can answer that, you don't have the feminine mysteries. Until you can speak to that, you don't carry the esoteric wisdom. I don't care. You are in the old fallen lunar realm where Lilith was turned into a slave, where her hair is pulled and where she's on her knees. That is the truth. And there's problems with patriarchal religion where they have a lot of it right, but they're missing huge portions of it, including in the church that I was raised in. And that's why I have a karmic contract with it. I wonder about it sometimes, but meaning to initiate some changes. These things that, one of the questions was about the why the whole thing about the Virgin Mary has become so big again. why there's this new direction saying that women should learn how to conceive without a man. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. We're talking, that's AI all the way. That's the 6 beast technology. That grooming started a long time ago. Oh, I don't need to mate with the masculine to have a child. But even when the spiritual teachings are saying that, like were promoted in the Catholic Church, which is why the Essenes were wiped out, which is why the Gnostics were wiped out, they knew the truth. That's why they were annihilated. They were the biggest threat to that institution. There's many reasons that institution was supposed to be there, but the feminine as a virgin without the feminine as the mother and as the bride is useless. She can't even get into the underworld without the bride to anchor her there. That is the descent of holy Inanna. That is the woman coming in. That is the goddess coming in and going all the way down into hell, which is what we did in Holy Descent on a level we've never done before. I mean, that was when I posted a video, by the way, of like the end of that 8-week course. It's on Instagram where I'm wearing blue and it's on winter solstice. And it was my son had just traveled from the East Coast. I see that. I see the light in my eyes. That was after we came out of all that. That was the end of that. It was an 8-week course. What I felt in that moment was something I've never felt in my entire life. It was the resurrection of the goddess, truly, after she met face to face with the underworld forces. Face to face. We went there. And I can tell you, I'm just going to bring up this one initiation I had before I had my son. I can't remember. I think it was right before I conceived him, which makes total sense why it happened before the conception, where there was a period in my life where I was going through, it would have been early 2000s, from the late 90s to early 2000s, where I was studying and being downloaded so deeply that every time I shut my eyes to go to bed, and this was a pain, because I felt like I had no control. I was pulled into a higher world, and I was like in the middle of a circle, and there were these master teachers around me. And I was partially in the world and partially above the world. Like I still knew I was earthbound, but I had to strain to hear them because it took me into a pretty high dimension, and it's a strain. It's like trying to use a battery that's not powerful enough to run an appliance when it doesn't have all the juice. That's what it felt like. My battery didn't fully have all the juice to operate on that plane, but they took me anyway, and it hurt. But I was getting so overloaded with information. They were just talking and talking and downloading down, and then I'd wake up and I would be like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And it went on and on and on. And it's I've when for those of you who have had any training like this, you know what that's like. It feels like you're in the world, but you're like, "What's going on?" It's very real. But then towards the end of that, I was still living in New York when this was happening too, and then I left. I had an initiation where the Lord Archon showed up in my astral world, where I was pulled in, and this energy I think I've talked about this on a video before, was the most evil, demonic, like, it was the head archon. I was then later told in the Akashic records later what had happened. And when this thing came towards me, it was ominous. It started, I could see its shape, but then it was ominous, and it was like a big dark shadow that came over me in the field of me, and it was like I was its food. And within me, just one moment. Every cell in my body felt the evil. So this being what it tried to do was project and cast evil onto me to take me out spiritually. So this is deep, this is pretty far out stuff, but this is how spiritual initiates work. This was an initiation, which I can share now because it has to do with this work. Every cell of my body was invaded with evil, meaning it made me under that force. that I knew the darkest things that I could ever have never even dreamed of on my own. It was the pure evil of the universe. And within that, what happened to me was that from the very core of my being rose up this fire. It was like the dragon fire. And it came out as a mantra in a language I don't know. It wasn't any of the mantra languages I've worked in before. And when I made the sound, which going back to you, Shez, the coming from the mouth of the goddess, the sound current that came out of my mouth. And I just remember feeling, let me just go back to the moment for a moment. I remember thinking, I don't know how this is happening. Like my human mind was with me and I was like, I don't know how I know to do this. I don't know what force inside me is doing this because my human little me mind was sitting there watching my goddess mind, my initiate mind run the show. And so there was still that little voice of me being like, how is this possible? How is this happening? It came out and the fire became the sound. So I wasn't spitting fire at it. It was the sound current of the female. It is the woman who will take down the Antichrist. I used to write about this a lot on Art of the Feminine. It is the female that carries that power. Why? Because it's the authority of the human heart, and she has not yet been heard. I'm not talking about the lower side of the feminine on the planet. I'm not saying men can't do this. Is what we need the joint. We need them both. But woman, you must learn how to connect with this level of wisdom and to believe it. And you can bow to any religion, any political side you want. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't let your sovereignty go. Keep that little secret in your mind that you know what's going on. And if you need to speak to it, speak to it. You can even use silence to speak. Sometimes silence is the loudest voice in the room. But what happened with this energy, and it was dragon-like. The evil that came at me was the evil side of the dragon. And we work with the light body dragons in light body yoga. We have whole teachings with the light body dragons, which are the spheres of Eve's tree. So it backed off. It's subdued. It disarmed evil. It disarmed it. It was powerless in the face of whatever I said that day. It could not, it could, all of the evil that was projected into my cells was withdrawn. And when I woke up, I felt like a different person. That was right before I conceived my son. Now I remember, I can even remember the light in the room that day when I woke up. I remember the comforter, how it felt on me. And I was in my room by myself at the time. My husband was in his office. And I was like, what just happened? And then I conceived my son. So what we have to say here today about AI, about the archetypes. Oh, now will the beast manifest as a literal person? Well, listen, the beast manifests sometimes as a government. Sometimes it manifests as, it could manifest through Silicon Valley. It could manifest through, a politician. It can manifest through a technology. It's already manifest when you look at someone like a Hitler or someone that's being overshadowed by the Antichrist 100%. So is there this final incarnation of the Antichrist as a human, the one great force of evil as we had the Christ? We'll leave that for another time. I'll let you think about that and think about what it means. We have to be careful because that's an evangelical language. The Antichrist is coming. He's coming. He's coming. It takes us outside the mysteries. When I'm going to tell you one thing, when you work in the mysteries, and I mean genuinely, when you are working with higher masters, there is only so much you can join with that energy because there's an admixture created and it wipes out some of your previous work. You can't, because the ego takes over and then you just start to drench yourself in it. Be aware, but be discerning how you use your energy. And when we start to look for who might be the Antichrist, we start another witch hunt. It's just that doesn't do good either. If there was gonna be an Antichrist, I think most people would know who it is. It would be unspoken, meaning when they saw it. It's connected to technology and let's see, it feels like there's something else. Just one moment. This is what we're called to do. We're called to create. We're called to be the light body artists of the new world. This platform was founded on art. My work as a performing artist, and that's why it's called Art of the Feminine. Make art. Don't judge others. Put your own contribution in the world. I recently saw a very big pop star who's a billionaire and the whole thing, and and I was on one of the social media platforms, and I saw someone showing the worst possible video she had ever done, where she sounded awful, and so many people were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing how one thing like that can take away from all the good or the accomplishments," but that goes for all of us. That's why we don't waste our time putting other people down. If there's something that needs to be called back out, like say, "Hey, look what Peter Thiel's talking about. Look what Elon Musk is talking about." Well, yeah, we'll talk about it. Look what, the current president is doing. Look what's happening in the Middle East. We don't shy away from that. But in terms of going after people and saying it's them, it's them, it's them, don't do that. Make art. Tell the story of the goddess with your heart, the way you live in love relationships, the way you raise your children, the things, there's the woman who wrote to me today, just now saying she couldn't get on, is in South Africa making documentary films that are amazing. Amazing. She's one of the women, she's been around my work for a long time and profound the way she's working in the world. And I remember when she had this dream and told me about it, going back years, and now she's doing it. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. The goddess works slow sometimes, but when it comes, it's all there. This is the other thing. Be aware of your divine purpose, have clarity, be bold, and persevere. Know what you're doing and just get to work and do it. Now is a good time to work. It's not the good time to just hang out and relax. Now work at your pace, because too much, what do they say about the devil? What was that saying when we were kids about like the devil moves in if you're like not moving around? I can't remember that saying, but get busy. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If you have a couple people that you really like, influencers of this or that, pick one or two and just give a certain amount of time to them. But don't just let yourself go everywhere and all the time, unless you're in a space where you're having a creative hour where you just want to see what comes to you. That can work. But your time is valuable. With the earth changes, with AI moving in, learn to think for yourself and produce. Put your mark in the world. That is your seal of why you're here. If your mark is loving your pet and doing it well, beautiful. If your mark is serving, meaning being in a really beautiful friendship, loving relationship and holding that energy. Listen, relationships with when the relationships are collapsed between the male and female, like what's happening right now, it's major between male and female. The electric magnetic grid of the earth is doesn't work. We have to have the upper triangle and the lower triangle. We have to have masculine and feminine. The joining of male and female, which it's the holy grail, opens the portal of conception. We also have to have the collective Adam and Eve in love with each other. We have to. And when people start dropping out of real relationships, that grid makes us really vulnerable. That's when evil can seize upon the world. So there's a lot of influencers, both right political people and left political people, talking about, for those people who are interested, not everyone, get married, have a child. For those people who are meant to do that, who are not doing that, it's one of the best ways to ground in and just be like, you're obligated. Once you have a partner, you're obligated to do the work. Once you have a child. Now, for those people who have different priestess paths and high priest paths that are doing work in a different kind of container, though I see those women really thriving right now. And that's a big, big thumbs up from the goddess. So I'm going to look down. I have no idea how this stream went. I have no idea if what was going on. We're going to check. The next time we do a Q&A, it should be running smoothly. I would say I want to remind you to watch out for October 3rd. Mark your calendar. Also, I will be posting a link for those people who are interested in studying all the archetypes that I teach in the whole stream of what we call the divine feminine wisdom and the Kabbalah of Eve, the Kabbalah of woman, the body of Eve, this esoteric system. I run a 1-year school, and I'll be putting up a link to do a call with me. I'm doing the calls this time around, so you'll get to talk to me and see what that is about, and see if you would like to come and study for a year with me. I think I'm also going to send out a little light body yoga course to my email list to see if anybody wants to grab that and just dabble. I always say if you do something like that, you can apply it towards the school if you end up going to the school. And the other thing I want to mention as we get closer to Samhain, Holy Descent, that 8-week course has 64 videos teaching the system. I'm gonna launch that too as something that you can purchase for the replay if you're interested. It's a game changer though, that one. It really is. So that's all I have for today. We'll close out with I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. Take a deep breath in and hold it. Make a wish at this lunar eclipse and exhale. We say, I am, I know I am. I am, I know I am. I would like to teach every single female in this country we talked about that prayer. That is a prayer of pure self-worth. Know who you are. I am that I am. That is the truth of who we are. So a couple last words on this lunar eclipse. We have Saturn back in the sign of Pisces, and then it's going to go back into Aries. What that means, Saturn in Pisces is going to really dig it up. It'll be there until the beginning of 2026. Saturn in Pisces, it's doing its last dance in Pisces. It's big. It's working with Lilith and the fallen Mars energy. Then Saturn at the beginning of 2026 will move back into Aries, and that's when the Aries karma is on big time. Saturn's going to go through Aries. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So what this eclipse is doing is it's casting the shadow of human consciousness onto the moon. That's why lunar eclipses are so powerful. And we're getting to see the darkness reflected back to us. The moon shows us. It creates with our currents, and it also creates with the higher currents, but what that will be for the next video. And so until then, please like the video if you're on YouTube. I welcome you to subscribe, and please keep in touch. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Art of the Feminine. I can't wait to go over and see if the Facebook Live took place, if it really happened, and to just see what was going on with my YouTube channel. I thank everybody who came and all of your comments. You can come back and comment on YouTube, and that's where I'm primarily doing comments these days. I'm pulling away from some of my social media activity because I have to consolidate. I'll be answering or looking at comments on YouTube very intensively. And so thank you again, and blessed, blessed lunar eclipse and happy full moon today. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say? I'm glad we got this. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I bow to you. Ah, okay, I'll close out. Come back and comment on the YouTube channel on Shannon Port. Thank you.